As a little birthday treat to myself, I spent the weekend north of Philly playing Pathfinder in a palace. That was a really cool event. But now, unfortunately, we leave the world of fantasy and return to the working world, where I play Nic Fit and Nic Fit related accessories. Hello folks, Phil Gallagher aka ThrabenU here for another Legacy video. And today's deck list comes to us from Yohem, who wants us to play with Academy Rector. This is one of the ones that we finished tuning up on stream, although honestly I don't think it needed very much. I think we only flipped around 3 or 4 cards if memory serves. Academy Rector is a pretty neat card because when it dies you can get literally any enchantment you want. Which means that big overcosted enchantments like Overwhelming Splendor that we get out of stuff like curses are absolutely on the table. And we're going to have 3 different enchantments we can dump in. We want one of these big 2, though. Summon Bahamut is something you can use to nuke a couple of permanents, and it doubles as something that you can put in off of Show and Tell, while being able to deal a decent amount of damage as a 9-power flyer that also has a Mega Flare ability that could finish off opponents as well. And Overwhelming Splendor should shut down just about any fair deck and basically eliminate their ability to win. Overlord of the Baelmerk is kind of the dregs, where if you happen to draw the other 2, or if you happen to really need a creature that is not Bahamut for some reason, this is something that is castable in the early game as a cantrip, in the mid game as a real threat, and can be something that you can pull in off of a Rector if things go very, very long. The deck is very, very good at getting rid of Academy Rectors with Witherbloom Charms and Erodes as way that you can sacrifice it or destroy it. And we also have Cabal Therapies that we can flash back, or Phyrexian Towers and Lazotep Quarries that we can use. So we should be pretty darn consistent at getting this into play and being able to sacrifice it. The remainder of the deck is the lesson stuff that we've been messing around with for the last month or so, which I've been pretty happy with. It always hasn't been perfect, but it has created some very, very interesting board states, and sometimes you just win the game by casting a Germination Practicum. Note that I'm going to try cutting Decorum Dissertation from this specific build, as it hasn't been great for me. I haven't cast it in a while. And in its spot, we're going to pick up a little bit of Discard, as that's something that I have been wishing that I've been able to tutor for. If you're interested in a deep dive into some of the choices, check out my last live stream from Friday, June 12th, where we brewed this and a couple other decks that we played on the channel recently. And folks, should you need any Magic cards, please consider checking out toamagic.com, and when you do, use promo code ThrabenU to save a little bit on your order. I also recommend following them on social media if you aren't already, because they get some really, really cool high-end stuff through their just business practices that you might not get to see elsewhere. And this is the sort of stuff that I was talking about. These were really, really sweet and graded, although those ones have already been purchased. Consider following TOA Michael for more sweet stuff. With that being said, let's battle. Our first hand is a weird one with 2 copies of Lazotep Quarry. I don't know if I should keep this one. It has probably Scrubland, Thoughtseize, and if Erode is good, this hand is totally reasonable, and if Erode is bad, this one is Big Stinky Doo-Doo, where we could get Wastelanded off of our stuff just absolutely completely. I think I'm going to mulligan this one. Our opponent says hello. I like this, and we can put our giant enchantment back in the deck to grab it later. And since we're on the draw, we can maybe get a little bit of information from our opponent before we Cabal Therapy. Don't you chalice me. Don't you chalice me. Okay. Woo! Oh, can you do more? Well. Oh, fuck. Oh, fuck. So this is what it feels like, huh? Well, we are not going anywhere fast, that's for sure. Uh-oh. So, that Pithing Needle doesn't do a lot. I am considering whether or not I am already dead and I should just concede rather than play out this game. I think I'm willing to continue playing because drawing an Academy Rector in particular is so strong. Yeah, Wasteland is reasonable. I'm just going to drop a land and pass the turn. I think getting something like an Overwhelming Splendor or a Bahamut in play has the potential to overpower what's going on here. This is the point where I have to commit and show my opponent that I am not, in fact, Death and Taxes. I think I am comfortable committing. So I'm going to play Eyetwitch, and Eyetwitch can represent Origin of Metal Bending, and that can destroy an Urza's Saga token. The problem here is that Candelabra plus active Urza's Saga can be pretty darn gross. So the next question that we're going to be thinking about is, does our opponent have access to a haste enabler? Wait, hold up. Did my opponent forget to make a construct token? I mean, I'm narrating my plays and I'm thinking about other stuff, but I think my opponent forgot to make a construct token there. Your Monolith gets untapped. My opponent has a Gajillion D mana and an Ugin. Oh, that's pretty bad. That is pretty bad. Any of these kill a Planeswalker? Seems like no. Oh, wait. Fucking Erode kills Planeswalkers. What am I thinking? Easy. We'll just get smacked around for 6 or so. Emphasis on the or so in the meantime. Alright, cool. The opponent has one basic swamp in their deck. Does kind of beg the question, why? Is that just for, like, dismembers? Are there Urborgs in there to help out with the mana? So my opponent's going to make their construct token and then untap the Urza's Saga. And then make yet another one. We are looking to rip Academy Rector and immediately sacrifice it, by the way. Another key effect, untapping the Monolith. I'm going to take 9, and 1 removal spell is not going to do it. So I can play Veteran Explorer for 3 mana, sacrifice it with Lazotep Quarry, and then play another spell. But that's not getting me out of this spot. I am dead. GG. I imagine that on average we're not sideboarding very much with this deck. I'm probably going to board in the 2 Disruptor Flutes, and that's going to be about it. Might go down like 2 things that learn. I'm not sure if they should be Eyetwitches or Curve or Professors, because this doesn't require me to do one of my sacrifice things. I don't think this does enough here. Like, I can play Eyetwitch and on turn 2 have Origin of Metal Bending, and like that's fine, but I just have nothing else going on with the hand. This looks reasonable. I think I'm going to keep this and get rid of the shadowy backstreet. I would probably prefer to have discard in my opening hand. When I'm already at 6, I don't know how picky I get to be. Like, this just gets to Witherbloom, Charm, sacrifice my Veteran Explorer after attacking for 1, and then have Disruptor Flute available for something gross. Ooh, or Thoughtseize, and then Disruptor Flute later on, after I know exactly what's in my opponent's hand. That sounds better. I'll grab a Scrubland, and then I'll sack Veteran Explorer. This will give my opponent that basic swamp. I need to choose a swamp for one of mine here, and then I don't think the other one matters very much. Notably, I drew one of my swamps off the Witherbloom Charm, so I could not go swamp for double immediate Thoughtseize, unfortunately. Okay. So I will take the One Ring, and then intend on Disruptor Fluting Urza's Saga. Honestly, that's great. Needle resolves. Opponent's still going for Wasteland. That is not a thing in my deck. Plays out the second Monolith to potentially dodge Thoughtseize type stuff. Eyetwitch is okay. There's a 5/6. Let's shut off Urza's Saga, and I'll pass a turn here. By the way, before I get a bunch of new questions about it, you might see that I am in a new chair. I will have a sponsored post about this chair in the next couple of days. It rules, but I have to get exactly what I'm going to say approved by my sponsor. Phyrexian Tower comes down. I think my opponent just played Workshop. There is one mystery card in my opponent's hand that is probably nothing. Let's go ahead and attack with Barrowgoyf and see what happens. Reveal 5. Miss, but there is a Cabal Therapy. Let's see what that last card is. It is an Emrakul. So there's a Nexus and Workshop there. Is this going to shrink this? This is going to shrink this. What I can do is go ahead and sacrifice this Eyetwitch to learn. And I can just take out those 2 lands. Or I can prevent my opponent from tutoring for Candle. Let's prevent the tutor. My opponent can untap their Grim Monolith to use their mana, and I'll call it there. Nexus comes down, opponent finds Trinisphere. That's fine, like that has relevant text versus me. Veteran Explorer is an okay draw, like that's not symmetrical. I might end up finding something better to do though. I did! So this is a put onto the battlefield, so I do not need to worry about Trinisphere here. Actually, quick Veteran Explorer check. Can I go 1, 2, 3, sacrifice, and still Academy Rector and sacrifice? So have 2 mana floating, get 2 more lands. That's the 4 for Rector, then no, I can't Cabal Therapy afterwards. So there's Rector. I will sacrifice Rector. I think I'm just going to do this one and try to finish the game next turn. I'll take out one of my opponent's copies of Grim Monolith. And then this is just 9 that doesn't die to Ugin. Specifically because it is colorless. Overwhelming Splendor still lets my opponent activate loyalty abilities. But it is good against the One Ring. So like it's a totally reasonable choice there as well. I don't really have any ways that I can like change my sideboarding plan here. Okay, my opening hand is fine here. I'm going to need some other stuff to round it out. But I get a turn 1 Thoughtseize into turn 2 Veteran Explorer, and then hopefully we find something to make the rest of this stuff work. It's just a cold, like, hard call Disruptor Flute, naming Thoughtseize. Well, that is in my hand. We'll see if we can pivot into Veteran Explorer crimes instead before my opponent takes off and does their stuff. Note that Thoughtseize is not uncastable, it just costs 4. Fuck. Phyrexian Tower off the top. Yes, we'll take it. Same deal. So in for 2. Opponent goes to 15. I will go ahead and sacrifice Veteran Explorer. Get a black for sure. Then I have black, black. I can have green, green. I don't think I need white, white. I honestly probably don't need green, green either. Ooh, opponent has the basic swamp in hand. So now I will get this Rector into play. I haven't fully negated Trinisphere, but this is probably pretty darn strong. My opponent could activate Urza's Saga and then get Metalcraft for Urza's Workshop, but with their own Trinisphere in play, I'm not sure that that does anything meaningful. Alright, here is a Witherbloom Charm. I don't know that I'm into casting that card immediately. It seems sort of like I just sacrifice this and see if my opponent responds. Yeah? They didn't. So I can get Overwhelming Splendor here and shut off their Urza Saga. That seems great. And then I can choose to do... I probably do Academy Rector next turn. I think I just Thoughtseize my opponent. And then next turn I go 4 mana, play Rector, and then sacrifice it immediately for Bahamut and start going after this other stuff. Arn and Kozilek's Command. And again, this does let my opponent activate loyalty abilities, so I will take Karn. And you may keep your Kozilek's Command, which my opponent is not casting. It kind of seems to me like they are in emergency mode. Ooh, Pithing Needle's cute. I can name my Lazotep Quarry. Lose a couple life for Ancient Tomb. And then Kozilek's Command. Store a little mana. Oh, interestingly, those do become 1/1s. And they aren't mana anymore. Wait, no, hold on. No, they are still mana. 3 cards on top, despite Overwhelming Splendor in play. I might just take 4 in this turn cycle and hold open Disruptor Flute for if something bad goes on the stack. And if nothing bad goes on the stack that I have to Disruptor Flute, I Witherbloom Charm Pithing Needle and then get Bahamut. Alright, that seems reasonable to me. Alright, so there's the basic swamp that I already suspected was in my opponent's hand. I will take 4 from this attack, going to 14. So that's the One Ring, but my opponent can't activate its ability, so that's just Fog. That's fine. Oh fuck, it's not fine! The protection from everything makes the aura fall off. Ooh. I should have potentially Disruptor Fluted in response then. I don't know, I still want to destroy this. Yeah, my opponent didn't realize it was going to happen either. Not an interaction that comes up very often. The aura is directly on players. 3 mana, Veteran Explorer, float a mana, and sack. Yeah. That's fine. So, yeah. Sack the Veteran Explorer. Say yes. Get 2 more basics. Will cost me 3 mana, unfortunately. I will shut off the One Ring. I'm going to hold Rector for just a minute rather than try to use it immediately, because my opponent put 3 cards on top with that Kozilek's command. So I'm expecting something like an Ugin to be coming, and once that happens, I want to be able to Bahamut it. It is Cityscape Leveler. Alright, fine. Yeah. Alright, backup Trinisphere has arrived. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Sacrifice it immediately. Say yes. Pick this up. Destroy the Cityscape Leveler. Drop a land. Throw down a Barrowgoyf. The Barrowgoyf is massive. Barrowgoyf or Bahamut connecting will be lethal. And I technically have the ability to bring some stuff back from the graveyard as well. Opponent gets a bunch of cards here. Only has a moderate amount of mana, honestly, though. At least relative to what that deck is capable of doing. The Urza's Tower helps out a lot on that front, and it's not surprising that my opponent has some of that stuff. They had 7 cards in hand. That increases the amount that the Workshop is doing as well. The Unearth happens on Cityscape Leveler, and this does get an on-attack trigger to destroy something. It, I think, has to be this, because of the flying. Oh, opponent disagrees. This is destroy, right? Yeah. I will let that happen so I can get a Power Stone that I could maybe sacrifice here. This is an 8/8. Block seems pretty free, unless Dismember, in which case I lose the game for the block. I think I will take the hit accordingly. Go to 6. It is the One Ring. That'll give my opponent a turn of protection. Then this goes away from Unearth. So I get to destroy something. It honestly might just be the Eldrazi spawn. I think I'm going to go for some more cards here. Back one of those Power Stone tokens my opponent gave me. I think I am putting an Eyetwitch into play and calling it there since my opponent has protection. And I'll hold this in play. I have 2 different flyers for if I need to like block an Emrakul in some timeline. I will not have the ability to cast something like Origin of Metal Bending at instant speed, though. Alright, a mine comes down. That is an Emrakul. That does not currently beat me. My opponent loses 2 to the One Ring. Draws some more cards. Makes a land drop. Sends in Emrakul. Annihilate 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Block with Eyetwitch. I will get to learn. I think I will take the burn spell. That will outright kill my opponent. So now my opponent needs to play another Emrakul and another One Ring, I think. Alright, there's step 1. Oh no, this is a sorcery. Shit. Oh, I think I grabbed the wrong lesson. I think I was supposed to grab Desperate Plea. Or no, that won't work. It's Emrakul's protection. Alright. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I need one more permanent. I need one more permanent, and I can get there with Mega Flare. Ah, so close, so close. I think my opponent gets this one. Yeah, my opponent gets this one at 1 life. Margins could not have been tighter there. GG's. Today's video is sponsored by Moxfield.com, and I love them. I have over 1,000 deck lists here. And I think the thing that I like the most about them is they're more than just a basic deck builder. If you need information about your next pre-release or where you can get cards, they have that sort of stuff here too. Whether you need to manage your collection or just a couple of decks, Moxfield does it all. So go check them out. Alright, opening hand is reasonable. I effectively have 2 pieces of discard. I have removal if my opponent plays out something like a Tamiyo on turn 1, and that does happen. So now the question is, do I want to try to clear the way, or do I just want to do the erode, since I also have Witherbloom Charm? It's a little weird though, because basic planes this turn for erode doesn't lead cleanly into Witherbloom Charm the next turn. I think I'm just gonna kill Tamiyo on sight. Alright, looks like my opponent was like cleanly F6'd there, so no counter magic. So I shouldn't name counter magic next turn with Cabal Therapy. The basic planes is real. Basic planes is real awkward with this hand in another way, in that it doesn't allow me to Eyetwitch into Cabal Therapy into the same turn cycle as well. Alright, Thoughtseize occurs. An opponent says, oh, fetching out that, referring to their basic island, might have been bad in this case. That's right. We're free-rolling veteran explorers from here, baby. I have lost my Witherbloom Charm, which is like very... I've drawn Overwhelming Splendor, which I probably don't want. I think we're going Brainstorm with this one. An opponent says they're a fan of the podcast. Not thanks in that box. We'll get to that chatting in a second. Brainstorm. All right. So we know that opponent is now on Reanimator nonsense. And even if they don't do something big and flashy, just reanimating Tamiyos is pretty annoying in a matchup that is going to be as slow as like this one is on average. Okay, that land means that my opponent can consider to flip Tamiyo and then reanimate creature Tamiyo. Blah. I legitimately don't know whether or not Tamiyo is going to be legal in Legacy in another week, as we have our next BNR update on the 29th, and I don't know that Tamiyo is currently the format's largest problem. Alright, it seems like my opponent is in the tank about whether or not they want to reanimate, and they ended on no. So I definitely Eyetwitch. I'm definitely doing Cabal Therapy. I am less sure about what I pick up here. It might be Ozai's Cruelty, since my opponent can get back Flow State with Tamiyo. I can also get Desperate Plea, and that's reasonable. I'll get Desperate Plea. Name Flow State and take it out. Then I will throw down an Eyetwitch and pass. My situation is not fantastic right now. There's some really weird stuff that could potentially happen where my opponent, like, reanimates my Eyetwitch so that I can't loop it with Desperate Plea. But we are just getting the return flow state via Tamiyo, which means, in theory, emphasis on theory, that I can attack and kill the Tamiyo. My opponent is showing an ETB tapped non-black land, so I'm hoping that I get to just kill Tamiyo. I don't know that that's reality, though. Alright, reanimate on Tamiyo. My opponent did find a land that casts reanimate there. So the unfortunate part there is that I can't kill this Tamiyo and this Tamiyo this turn, but I can get back Eyetwitch and kill that Tamiyo, sacrificing this Eyetwitch. Might just be Seismic Sense to dig for a new threat. I'm gonna do that. Alright, Eyetwitch in play. I think I drop a land to increase my count for Seismic Sense. Cast Seismic Sense. Get Rector. Get the Rector. Then I'll pass turn and I can search up my Surveil land at the end of my opponent's turn. I'll be looking for a way to sacrifice Academy Rector. Blue token gets cracked. Tamiyo pluses. Delta comes down. Notably not the hedge maze that we know about. The opponent could have some trixies. Prevail trigger. Veteran Explorer is not what I'm looking for right now. The Professor. 2 mana. White, black, white, black, white, black, white, black, green. Makes getting the Practicum here significantly worse. So I think I'm getting Ozai's Cruelty. And I'm just going for the 2-for-1 here. I could go for Desperate Plea here in an attempt to, like, get Rector. Ooh, that's an Atraxa graveyard. That's awkward. And Tamiyo has plus, so I can't effectively attack. Tamiyo hitting the graveyard, or sorry, the Atraxa hitting the graveyard is quite bad. A Worldly Tutor in the build as well. For Metamorphosis Fanatic, that's very funny. That's very, very funny. What a disaster. So now I just don't want to see Force of Will in this set of cards. It's Force of Will in that set of cards. One has Uro as well. So this does explain, by the way, why my opponent didn't use Hedge Maze. Had I not done what I did and allowed my opponent to discard, they would have put an Atraxa on top of their library with Worldly. Okay, it's a little more intricate than that. So you fetch, you put the Surveil land trigger on the stack, then you Worldly Tutor, and Worldly Tutor shuffles everything except for the giant creature that you fetch, and then you Surveil that creature into the graveyard. And so it's Entomb with extra steps. Force Reanimate, Undercity Sewers, Uro. Do I know the exact contents of my opponent's hand? What did Tamiyo just do? Tamiyo returns Thoughtseize, which is inconvenient for me because the Rector into Bahamut would be pretty sweet. Sewers comes down. My opponent keeps their card. Well, I mean, I can cast it, but it gets forced. It's a force that takes an Uro out, though. I think I just accept that. That's fine. And then if my opponent attacks with Atraxa, I block with Eyetwitch, get a removal spell. Yeah. Slightly... Oh. They accidentally clicked through their turn when I thought they were being wise in not attacking. Well, good play, opponent. Alright, so both are coming in. I could block with both of my creatures. 2, 4, 5, 6, 7 of 8 for Overwhelming Splendor. I think I'm going to take 4. And sack Veteran Explorer to a Desperate Plea. Yeah, I think that's my plan. Grab Desperate Plea. Unfortunate. Opponent has reanimated Tamiyo. Sure. Windswept Heath, not what I'm looking for. So next I would like my opponent to mess up and attack with Metamorphosis Fanatic again so that I can sack Veteran Explorer and work towards hardcasting Overwhelming Splendor. Okay, nice. I'm still taking 7 here, so like not great. I'll grab 2 lands. Opponent's at 29 life. And I do have enough to just hardcast Overwhelming Splendor here. So my opponent needs a Force of Will or another piece of discard. I'm not going to fetch yet. 3, 6, 7, 8. So I have exactly enough to cast this. I can't do the Thoughtseize first. Grab a Bayou. So I know one of the cards is one of the others a Force of Will. The Daze. Boo! Alright, so now I am dead in the air to the Atraxa. GG. That didn't quite work out. I am okay playing some Surgicals here. And I don't actually think the learn stuff is incredible in this matchup. Desperate Plea is something that destroys, and that sends the creatures to the graveyard where they can just be reanimated. So, like, it's kind of uniquely bad to try to loop around Desperate Plea in this matchup because my opponent can just bring the stuff back. So I think I'm going to trim the learn stuff here. I wonder if, like, legitimately I win that game if I draw a land that last turn to be able to play around Daze. Alright. Opening hand is fine. But as we've seen, the learn stuff is kind of mediocre in this particular match. That hand does not do anything unless this Surveil land spikes something strong. So I guess I'm just going to take their Thoughtseize. Slightly surprised my opponent kept that one. Verdant Catacombs comes down. The Bloom Charm is okay as a draw. I will Cabal Therapy my opponent. I think I'm going to start on the mana-efficient Reanimate. Nice, I got 2 of them. Now I'll fetch Grab a scrubland, probably. Play the Eyetwitch. Might be worth Force of Willing so that I don't Cabal Therapy Animate Dead as well. Nice. So now I think my opponent needs to Surveil, hit a giant creature, and then rip the land for Animate Dead. And if they don't, I will take over this game. They have said no to a Reanimate, and they have opted to get a non-black Surveil land, which is kind of wild to me. So next turn, I can pay 3 mana to get Eyetwitch back and get Animate Dead. Seems okay. And until then, I've got Witherbloom Charm. There's a Tamiyo. Goodbye to Tamiyo. Oh, that's cool. That might be cool enough to not just fire off Lazotep Quarry on Eyetwitch this turn. Yeah, I think that's the case. Just awkward if my opponent thought seizes me, but like they've got Hedge Maze as their land, so I think I'm fine. Ponder's okay. And I will get to Rector around days as well. Alright, Underground Sea. Pass the Thoughtseize test. I think I am just jamming here because I can cast the Thoughtseize afterwards. I could also just do this via Cabal Therapy. Okay, in which case I tapped this wrong. Endurance. Sure. That was not something I was playing around. I get to take their last card. Oh, but now we are in a top-decking war. Yeah, so I should have Thoughtseized, taken Endurance, and then played this Sack Therapy. That's on me. This is going to prolong this game for a little while and give my opponent a window to get back in with cards like Flow State. Sure. That's fine. I kind of want to use this window to Surgical Extraction my opponent's Tamiyos, and then shuffle their good card that is currently hiding on top. And I'll do so. I'll grab all of those. So my opponent has 2 reanimation targets and a couple of Barrowglyphs. Okay. So there's the delta that we knew about coming down. If opponent's fetching, it seems like their draw must have been Barrowglyph. It was. And I get a land. So now their Barrowglyph will get to crash in for 5. This will kill me in a couple of turns. They can put an Archon in their hand if they want. They don't want. And they drew a land. Only fair. I can Shadowy Backstreet. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's not going to do it. That unfortunately goes to graveyard, which means that I can't fetch it out later. Eyetwitch. I could play it, sack it immediately for Seismic Sense. I could also just play it, block, and then sack and get Seismic Sense. And then, I think either way, I am okay playing it and passing the turn. And then the first time around, I can just play it and sack it. And then I can potentially bring it back to get another thing. Just have something that's large enough to trade with Barrowglyph. Opponent brainstorms. Barrowglyph coming in. I'll block and then sacrifice this so my opponent doesn't get the life. I could get Desperate Plea. I think I'm just going to get Seismic Sense, though. I do have to worry about my opponent just finding a reanimation spell for this. Witherbloom Charm, unfortunately, is 2 or less. This gets to dig very, very deep. I find my own Barrowglyph, which honestly I'd forgotten was in the deck, because I just haven't seen them. Perfectly happy with that as a draw. I can play my own Barrowglyph, leaving open Witherbloom Charm. Opponent can Worldly Tutor, probably just for a Barrowglyph. Oh, for Metamorphosis Fanatic. Yeah, that's happening. That means that my opponent is going to get an Atraxa. Unfortunately, looking 6 deep didn't find me Academy Rector. Oh, sorry. Atraxa is in exile now. It's getting Archon. That's inconvenient. I can do a little something here. I can sacrifice the creature that I'm going to have to sacrifice anyway to draw 2 cards. Okay, nice. Discard Barrowglyph. The issue is I'm taking 5 here. The Overwhelming Splendor turning those into 1/1s isn't enough. Need a little more. Not much more, but just a little. So I get to play Academy Rector, and like, this is tragic. I get to sacrifice it. I get to get the Overwhelming Splendor, turn my opponent's stuff into 1/1s, but then I fall just a little short there. And if I keep the Barrowgoyf, the Archon just kills that on the attack, so that line doesn't get there either. I think I literally needed one more turn. Kill the Archon out of spite. Yeah, so I think I lost that one for not thought seizing and instead opting to Cabal Therapy because I did not play around Endurance in my opponent's largely blue-black deck. But that's Magic, baby. That was a great game. GG's. Alright, Shadowy Backstreet as my only land is not exciting here. I'm just going to mulligan that one. Second hand is fine. Not overly exciting, but fine. Ancient Tomb. Oh, it's Patchwork Automaton. Not something that is answered well via Witherbloom Charm. That will cost 4 mana. Eyetwitch is kind of interesting. I think I'll play that out this turn over Surveilling. We might be working towards desperate play loops, although Origin of Metal Bending is also just going to outright kill these creatures, so like that's totally fine too. My opponent does have blue, or at least blue lands. Pinnacle Emissary. Let's see how bad this turn gets. My opponent's going to get a lot of value from casting 0-drop artifacts here, so hopefully they don't have too many. Mox Opal, Emery as well. Emery's a 1/2. That's the other art of Urza's Bauble. This is 3 mana, right? So on my turn, I can play Phyrexian Tower, Origin of Metal Bending, and clear Emery and the drones. That seems fine. And we'll deal with Patchwork Automaton and Pinnacle Emissary when it comes back later. When it does cycle, and then this warps out. Redraw? These can block Eyetwitch, so Eyetwitch will not be coming in. Sack Eyetwitch. Get the Ruinous Waterbending. And cast it. Alright, very nice. That would have been a disastrous Force of Will blue card spot. And Urza's Saga comes down. And I imagine this is just Pinnacle Emissary coming back. Oh, this is a lot of pressure. Down to 11. A little bottlenecked on colored mana. I think I am eroding Patchwork Automaton for 3 mana here. And the next turn I play Professor and answer one of Urza's Saga or Pinnacle Emissary in the same turn cycle. This needs to be green mana, maybe green-white. Pay the ward 2. I think I do this on my own turn, so that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is not hardcast Force of Will, or if my opponent has Force of Will but no blue card. This may end up giving my opponent a basic, though. It doesn't, which is cool. That means all the Nic Fit stuff in my deck is asymmetrical. Oh, so their land, they do have a basic, but it was in hand. I'm down to 7. Opponent passes. I think I'm going to need more colored mana. I'm going to go ahead and do this. Grab a Bayou. I'm going to go 1 and 2 for the Professor. I think I need to kill the Saga so that my opponent doesn't tutor and produce a second construct with it. So I'm going to go Origin of Metal Bending. I'm going to take out the Urza's Saga. I don't know exactly what cards my opponent is going to have in hand if they're not casting things. Presumably more land? So I'm hoping to block, take 3, go to 3, kill Construct Token with this, and then find something else reasonable. No, don't Kappa me. That's Kappa. Now have to block this Construct Token, take 3, and I think if I rip Rector, it's not good enough. Well, I ripped Rector. I can get Overwhelming Splendor, and then die to 4 on-board creatures. So instead, I have to hope that my opponent has no artifact next turn to make this unblockable. So, land drop, Rector, sack it, Bahamut, blow up. Oh no, this still doesn't work, does it? So like, I blow up this, I block this, I still take 4. Yeah, this still isn't good enough. My opponent just came out of the gates a little bit too quickly. And like, if they just have any artifact in their artifact deck, Kappa also just becomes unblockable. Second Kappa. I really just need like one more turn. But my opponent's deck was just very, very mana efficient. Did not have time. GG. I can Disruptor Flute for Urza's Saga. And to a lesser extent, Emery. And that's like fine. I'm not sure that that's better than Thoughtseize punching a hole when I am on the play, though. I think I'm not going to sideboard here. Like, I could Deafening Silence, it would be mediocre. I could Disruptor Flute, it would be fine. We've had multiple times, and I think this is only match 3, we've had multiple times in this league where getting one of the giant enchantments into play is just not good enough with the enchantments that I have on offer. Having the Overwhelming Splendor in hand is pretty bad. This is a reasonable looking hand that is a 6-card hand where I've shut off one of my better things that I can be doing in the mid to end game. I think I'm just going to ship this accordingly, whereas this looks actively good. I probably don't need 2 Veteran Explorers. Doing that once is probably fine. And we'll throw one down and pass the turn. Is it famous last words? Is my opponent Force of Wills the Veteran Explorer? This has been on the stack for a while. It is. Pitching an Emery. That's fine. I hopefully still just have Barogoyf into Academy Rector. Oh, cool. And no turn 1 offensive play from my opponent. That's really good for me. What a draw as well. Oh, yeah. Opponent's hand is not doing a lot. This is particularly annoying if I am trying to do the Academy Rector thing. I think I just play Barogoyf and hope that my opponent bounces it and take the Emery. Urza Saga comes down on my opponent's turn. Now I'll Surveil. Yeah, that's a real plan. I'm fine with back-to-back Barogoyfs, despite the fact that I would love to put Academy Rector into play. Good stuff. And while Urza Saga is ticking up into the reasonable range, like, my Barogoyfs are better than those Urza Saga tokens. Combat! If my opponent wants to bounce this negative, I will mill 4 cards. I will return an Eyetwitch. I think I will go, yeah. I guess I can fetch. No, I don't have to fetch. Back Eyetwitch for green. Grab Origin of Metal Bending. Cast Origin of Metal Bending on Urza Saga. See if my opponent wants to use this to bounce my spell back to hand. Nope, they're just going to take their 1 token. That's fine. I've not succeeded in getting Sink into Stupor out of my opponent's hand yet. There goes the Otawara, though. Bobble. And I will happily take 4 damage with a 5/6 Barogoyf in play. I would not mind drawing another land. And I think I will just shuffle so my opponent doesn't know what I draw. Do a Savannah for variety. Goyf is up to a 6/7. Small children in chat lose their minds. Okay, nice. That's the Academy Rector thing as soon as I get Sink in a Stupor out of hand, which might just happen right now. Like, this connection is a really big deal. Yep, it does. So, fetch. Grab another duel of some kind. There's Academy Rector. We'll go ahead and sack it immediately. If my opponent has more Sink into Stupors, it might just be correct to do this. Just put the 9/9 into play that kills the token. And makes it very awkward for my opponent to play anything else out, rather than put Overwhelming Splendor into play and then have my opponent just have another Sink into Stupor. Oh no, my opponent just tapped 3 mana and played that as a land. Well, my read on what was in my opponent's hand was correct. That's really awkward. Harbinger of the Seas. Yes, that will resolve with my removal spell actively in play. Alright, Mr. Percy wants in the office. Hold on. My opponent says I misclick. Yeah, happens to us all. For the next game, I will now be more cognizant of Harbinger of the Seas. That is not something that I would have been expecting against the deck that has... How many basics am I on? 2, 4? Oh, I'm on a moderate 6 basic lands. My Thoughtseizes are a little worse on the draw. I think I'm just going to keep them over boarding in Disruptor Flutes, but I think it's close. Yeah, I'll keep this. This is going to be bad against some of my opponent's fastest starts, though. But I have all 3 basic lands and Cabal Therapy on turn 1 and 2 into turn 4 and 5, Bahamut and Overwhelming Splendor. And it also looks like my opponent is mulliganing pretty heavily here. Alright, opponent did keep on 5. Lotus Petal. Emery comes down. Pinnacle Emissary in the graveyard is great for my opponent. Oh, Veteran Explorer is quite good too. I'm still gonna get basics in respect of what my opponent's deck is capable of doing. I think I just named something like Force of Will here because resolving this stuff will just beat whatever my opponent is doing with Emery. Kaito. Never would have, like, hit on that Cabal Therapy in a million years. Would have given me 50 guesses and I would not have hit Kaito as being in my opponent's deck. So my opponent can now target Lotus Petal and play Kaito before I get a chance to therapy that. So that's a little annoying. Kaito exists. Opponent surveils. And the surveil has good synergy with Emery here. The artifacts can go to graveyard and then be cast via Emery. I don't know if it should be in the deck, but it's kind of sweet. Opponent says no to Patchwork Automatons. I will go ahead and fetch. Veteran Explorer will be resolving. I can get a forest with that. I think I'll just grab like a Savannah here. Do Veteran Explorer, Ball Therapy, target you, sacking Veteran Explorer, 1 and 2. If my opponent has a basic, they don't. We already knew because this is in play. Sink into Stupor. There's another Emery. Cabal Therapy. Target you, and I'm doing this mostly to get this into the graveyard. Get rid of that Emery. And then next turn I play Rector into Therapy. And then Bahamut can clean up both of these permanents. And we can work on Overwhelming Splendor after that as well. Overwhelming Splendor is really weird versus Kaito. I actually don't know how that works. Does Kaito become a 1... I think Kaito is a 1/1 creature that can still activate its loyalty abilities, I think? That might be worth looking up. If Kaito is just a 1/1 regular duder, getting Overwhelming Splendor first seems really good. What is that target? Patchwork Automaton. Sure. Doing life with Ancient Tomb there. I'm about to get hit with a Consign? What is my opponent leaving mana up for, if not Consign? Like, they very specifically tapped Ancient Tomb and not these. I guess either way I am casting this. I Cabal Therapy. Oh, it's just working. I think mostly because I want to see how this works, I'm going to do Overwhelming Splendor. I just named Sync again. Aha, nice. So my opponent just fully misplayed by not tapping their other 2 mana sources. Okay. Kaito is a 1/1 with no abilities. Nice. This would be one of those things where I would need to sit down with the layers and figure out in which layer everything happened. Mr. Percy! Don't scratch my carpet, Mr. Percy! Alright, I don't need this other Cabal Therapy. At least not right now. 1, 2, 3, 4. Academy Rector. Sack it for mana. Say yes. Pick up Bahamut. I think I get rid of the Kaito just in case. I think that's the thing I'm most scared of. It taps this down. And I'll pass turn there. Opponent is now attempting to activate Urza Saga. Absolutely not. Mr. Percy is a very demanding gentleman sometimes. Got business meetings to make and whatnot. I think we've just fully got the squeeze on our opponent here. Bahamut kills them in 2 turns, and even if it doesn't, Mega Flare will get them beyond that. If they have mana to get one of these out of play, the other one being there is still disastrous. Like if they ripped yet another Sink into Stupor. I also just have 7 of the mana needed to cast these cards and an active Phyrexian Tower. I think we're good at this stage. Alright, it is another Sink into Stupor going on Overwhelming Splendor. So Emery turns back on and can get exactly 1 activation. What do you even do with that? Opponent is going for a Patchwork Automaton. Sure. Do you not? This is a 9/9 flyer. What are you doing? Alright. So that was a very big mistake. And I think it's worth talking about. So with 2 Patchwork Automatons in play, if I turn this sideways and attack for 9, and my opponent like gets multiple artifacts they can string together, like there's timelines where they could deal 12 damage to me. Without that second Patchwork Automaton in play, that's just like frankly not happening. I'll destroy Emery first. Mana. Eyetwitch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. No, not immediately. Let's just go ahead and do this. Grab Origin of Metal Bending. We'll take out the Patchwork Automaton. I have plenty of mana for Ward. And we pretty handily win that one. The pressure that my opponent put on me in game 1 was horrifying, and I absolutely could not keep up with that. I just could not deploy cards fast enough. But if I get into the mid game, the stuff that I'm doing is very, very strong. GG's. We now have a win on the board. Let's try to win out. Let's try to go positive with this deck. All right. There are some deviating ways for how I could play this hand. If I play Veteran Explorer on 1, into Witherbloom Charm on 2, and sacrifice it, I can immediately Thoughtseize as well as ramp my mana. I think I'm going to go that route, and it's just embarrassing if we get turned 1 by a Storm deck or something like that. A Badlands? A Storm deck or something like that? What do you know? I regret nothing, for the record. Veil of Summer goes under the Chrome Mox. An LED? Is it an honest-to-goodness Adnaz? Okay, no, it's just a Beseech that is leaving a different color floating. So Beseeches for Beseech. Storm count is currently 7. Be pretty easy to Gaia's Will from here. Yeah, there is the Gaia's Will, so now my opponent can recast all their artifact mana, and then Beseech. I can see it from here. I'm going to go ahead and concede. This is just fully, we did not play Thoughtseize on turn 1 and lost to a combo deck that would have been fully dead to a Thoughtseize. And that's okay. Like, I think the Veteran Explorer setting up for success for the remainder of the game is good. The line that I took is going to draw 2 more cards and, like, actually work towards something that wins the game. I do not regret it. Deafening Silence is good. Surgical's probably playable. Disruptor Flute is a thing that I am allowed to do. All of my erodes can go. I do not need those. Eyetwitch being fodder for Cabal Therapy is a thing. Let's assume that I bring the flute in. I can probably go like Overlord out, trim some of these. This is actually not all that good here. Does our deck need a big stupid thing to do with Academy Rector against combo decks? Or do I just accept a 9/9 flyer? Maybe I just accept a 9/9 flyer as okay. Yeah, this feels like a deck building weakness that we are discovering in real time. I guess it just gets Deafening Silence? I guess that's fine, right? Yeah, I think it getting Deafening Silence is fine. Absolutely not. Second hand does not have black mana, which is tragic. We will be going to 5. Deafening Silence is also strong enough that it might be worth mulliganing aggressively towards. Whew. I don't think I mulligan, but boy, that's awkward. Probably Bayou, so that Veteran Explorer is castable, but it's like really awkward because Deafening Silence is one of my best draws. Yeah, maybe I have to play towards having the white mana. All right, Thoughtseize you. Extracting all of those echoes is pretty cool. Actually, I'm only going to extract 3 of them. Presumably 1 is in the sideboard for Burning Wish. Oh, that's very awkward then, isn't it? LED? Yeah, I think it's actually LED. I think I'm going to go LED, set a stop right here, let my opponent draw, and then surgically extract the LEDs. Oh, the frowny face. Did I just hit? No. It is a normal frowny face. Anything spicy that I should know about? Yes. There is Runehorn Hellkite. We now know the exact contents of my opponent's hand. I unfortunately know that my discard is not effective as of right now. I think I just have to eat this anyway. Like, this takes the Veil of Summer out of hand, and then I can get the Burning Wish on my following turn. Awkward that my Surveil land is black-white as well. Opponent says I knew I should have played Taiga. I guess they don't have another fetchable green source. Such is the avarice of their mana base. I'll name Burning Wish. Take it out. And then I can Thoughtseize their Veil? Very weird line. And then that way, Cabal Therapy can potentially take Mox Opal in the future. Yeah, I guess opponent's mana base is really quite strained. So now I just need to find something good to do before my opponent gets to 6 mana to just cast Echo. Opponent did keep their card, though. So there's Taiga. There's a threat, technically. I perhaps should have Cabal Therapy immediately for Mox Opal. It just doesn't do anything yet. Yep. Man. Gonna be Beseech for Song of Creation. I guess the Mox Opal did do something. And the annoying thing here is that that also lets them discard the Echo. What a brutal punish. Academy Rector. Oh, this is actually not bad. I mean, it's not great. So I sack my Eyetwitch, I get Origin of Metal Bending, I destroy the Song of Creation, and then my opponent has no cards in hand. Namesticker Goblin. But now this is in a zone that I do not want it to be in. Alright, dodged mana there. I don't have anything to do. Opponent has tapped and untapped Undercity Sewers. I'll fetch, grab the back street. Land gets me to Rector. I don't have a way to kill Rector, so I think I just say no to that. Oh, fuck yeah. I'll do that in my opponent's draw step. Surgical the Echo. Bam, bam, bam. Yeah. My opponent's other green source was ETB tapped from earlier. Burning Wish, Dark Ritual, Mox Opal remain. See what my opponent Burning Wishes for. The last Echo. Yep. So I can put this in play, and now I just need to kill it and get Deafening Silence. My opponent's mana is currently awkward. If they Dark Ritual, they then don't have blue towards Echo. It is another Surgical Extraction, which I absolutely will use on Dark Ritual. In we go! I've used the draw step stop more times in this game than I have in, like, the remainder of a year. Alright, extract Dark Ritual. Bam, 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 bam. Alright, good stuff. Witherbloom Charm is awesome. In for 1. I will sack a permanent to draw 2 cards. Sack this. Say yes. Get Deafening Silence. I can't play Disruptor Flute until my opponent's turn now. Presumably I just name Burning Wish with this Disruptor Flute on my opponent's turn and make that more awkward. Get rid of my draw step again. Draw step, stop. Cabal Therapy occurs for a Mox. Hit 2. We are well into the we're not losing portion of the game. I would like to proceed into the we are actively winning portion of the game. Opal is in play purely just so I don't take it. I guess? Oh. Sneaky empty the Warrens. No. Down to 9. That is a gamble. Echo randomly getting discarded is weird, yeah. That's my opponent's 1, though. But refueling could be a big deal. That is an Academy Rector. Yeah? Ball Therapy, target you. Sack Academy Rector. Yes, I will use that ability. I think I'm just getting a second Deafening Silence. I'll just name the Burning Wish that I 100% know is there, despite the fact that I've made it more expensive. Yeah, that's what I thought that was going to be. And I played around that by getting another Deafening Silence. Opponent could play that as a land in Echo. It shuffles the Empty of the Warrens and the Song of Creation back into the deck. They're going to play Commercial District instead. On 11 points of damage to myself. The mighty Veteran Explorer has arrived. 16 hits, and I've got you. So I expect that opponent is going to take out a Deafening Silence, and then they can Echo and put the Boseiju back into their deck. I'll grab Savannah. There is also a line where they just smack me with a Runehorn Hellkite. I found another Deafening Silence. Lol. We are also at the stage where this is just a castable card. I think I will lose the 1 life here. I just want to check what... Okay, so I have 2 basics left. Is just gaining 5 life better than doing the Veteran Explorer thing? Probably not. but let the record show that I thought about it. All right, there's a surgical. Oh, there was a third basic that was just a different color than the verdant. All right, land drop 3, 6, 7, 8, 9. So I could just cast this. I think I need to do this. That feels important. I could have played Lazotep Quarry and like sacked it and Germination Practicum'd immediately. Made my land drop before I thought about that. I would say that's a notable misplay. Opponent's going to do Brainstorm as their one spell. I don't think I am trying to extract Brainstorm. I can Ozai's Cruelty as my one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So I have 10. Yeah. Big boy. I believe this is a creature, so we can do another thing. We'll take that Mox Opal. Go to combat. Attack for 2. Opponent to 14. Cabal Therapy, target you. That's fine. Can't flash that back immediately due to my own Deafening Silence. I don't think that's a problem. And then I have Lethal next turn. It's funny looking Lethal. Boomerang Basics, yes. Now I don't have Lethal next turn. But that's my opponent's one. Therapy is a thing. Bam. Do I attack for 2? Yeah, I think I'll attack for 2. Yeah. Cabal Therapy, target you. Sacrifice 1 Eyetwitch. Ozai's Cruelty is okay. Germination Practicum is okay. I think I leave this in exile in case Empty the Warrens happens. I'll pick up Germination Practicum. Name Burning Wish again. Hit. And then I can Boomerang Basics in the draw step with a Surgical Extraction yet again. Is kind of funny. I will destroy nothing. Surgical. Boomerang Basics. Paying the mana. Yeah. Casual 16-turn game versus Storm. We were not very good at closing that game. My opponent had time to draw back in, but as it turns out, the Rector's finding Deafening Silence was good enough. GG. I now know that my opponent has Empty the Warrens as an option. I have a tutorable out to that, so that's fine. That was really the sort of game where I just wanted to find a Barrowgoyf and chonk my opponent twice with it and end things. Alright, on we go. I don't have a lot of interaction for my opponent just going for it on turn 1, unfortunately. Awkward hand. It has a Thoughtseize and the ability to surgically extract something afterwards, but my mana situation is very, very bad. I don't have the green to Lazotep Quarry away Veteran Explorer and fix my mana. From my opponent's side of the battlefield, I would be looking to either turn 1 or have a Thoughtseize to take Deafening Silence. That's how I would want to play things out. And they're in the tank about whether their hand is acceptable. They do ultimately keep. I think I'm going to ship this one. This is a little sketch. It has threats. That's probably not what I care about. It has a Cabal Therapy that could miss. I really want Deafening Silence. It's awkward if I mulligan to Deafening Silence and my opponent just Thoughtseizes it, though. I think I will go to 5. That's not keepable. The 4 is very bad. The 4 doesn't cast Veteran Explorer. The 4 doesn't cast Cabal Therapy on 1. I'll go to 3. 3 has Deafening Silence. Easy best hand so far. You go away. You go away. And I think I just keep 2 lands Deafening Silence. And if my opponent Thoughtseizes me on 1, so be it. Bloodstained Mire comes down. Lotus Petal. Red, white. Squelcher? Burning Wish immediately. Presumably Echo then. And there's LED in hand already. Yep. Multiple LEDs. Oh, that's bad. Are both going to be cracked immediately. Yes. So by no means is this deterministic, but this is fully in the, this is fucking bad stage. My new hand is pretty reasonable. I'm hoping my opponent falls short here, and I get to just slam a Deafening Silence. That was a slow brainstorm. Hell yeah. We got away with murder. That's very, very, very lucky. Deafening Silence is in play. Boomerang Basics is a thing. We've seen it. Bloodstained Mire comes down. And I do have a real threat this game. I do have a Barrowglyph, which is currently small, but hopefully gets larger. There will be at least a land going to graveyard. I will play an Eyetwitch. What am I most likely to need two of? Green or white? Neither? I guess I'll go green. Eyetwitch resolves. Opponent will fetch and presumably grab their blue-black surveil land. Yeah. I probably extract that in draw step, if nothing else, to gain the information. Nice. 1, 2, 3, 4. Anything else new here? No, this is looking like the same stuff as before. Opponent has moved to second main, where they will Burning Wish or a Boomerang Basics. Yep. This is great. I'm having a great time. Eyetwitch in for 1. Play land drop. Cabal Therapy. Target you. Now, believe it or not, I'm going to name Boomerang Basics. Oh, we hit. So that's my 1. I can then surgically extract Boomerang Basics. I think there was another one. I was in full-on try-hard mode. I would be being a little more careful about taking screenshots and notes and stuff. All right, yep. Get rid of Boomerang Basics and the 2 additional copies. So now there's 2 Boseijus that I have to be thinking about. Good stuff. So the brainstorm means that I don't know the exact contents of hands anymore. It's a little weird for this Cabal Therapy. I'd like to therapy those Beseeches. It's also possible that my opponent will just shuffle. No, they can't shuffle. Yeah. Well, okay, more accurately, they can't use Gamble to shuffle immediately because that's their 1 for Deafening Silence. Witherbloom Charm is a card. I'm probably not casting that. Opponent to 16. Cabal Therapy, target you. Sack the Eyetwitch. My opponent's still pretty far away from hard casting this. I don't think I need a Desperate Plea. I think I'm just going to get Origin of Metal Bending. I think I'm going Beseech. I think Gambles are hidden on top. I'm wrong. Gambles are not hidden on top. I thought Gamble for Boseiju was going to be a big deal, but my opponent had Chrome Mox. This is actually very dangerous now, because my opponent can Chrome Mox, Song of Creation, Boseiju Deafening Silence, and they could gamble after that. I'd really like that Song of Creation in play, though. And we'll see where this goes. Decent exile pile at this point as well. I get Boseiju'd. I will do this. I think I am surveilling. Don't need that land. That doesn't change math on anything here. Opal is coming out. My opponent can gamble for LED. That doesn't get them to Runehorn Hellkite. Okay, so they gamble. Okay, no, that line's not going to work anymore. So they had a line where they could gamble for LED, play gamble, get Echo. Veteran Explorer. I'm just blowing up my opponent's artifacts here. That currently looks like the best I can do, unless I mill over a Cabal Therapy. We'll mill 5. Get back that Eyetwitch. I did not mill over a Cabal Therapy. At this point, we are just taking out mana sources. It is so rare for games against Storm to go this long. That 16-turn game or whatever that we played previously was very, very strange. All right, cool. Going up to 26 is also a big deal. Let's see if I hit a Cabal Therapy when I go in. Yeah. Up to 26. Say yes. Did not hit a Cabal Therapy. In which case, I guess I'm just playing 2 things. Opponent is dead on board. So, yeah. Yeah. Still, in theory, possible for me to lose. The Dark Rituals are gone. 2 Burning Wishes are gone. Song of Creation is gone. Yeah, that's the GG's. What an utterly strange match. That was really, really cool. Yeah, opponent fully bottlenecked on mana there. What did they gamble for the previous turn? Beseech? Maybe Beseech. All right, GG's. I think we're 2-2 now. Yeah, let's try to make this a positive league. Alrighty. Final round opening hand is Pretty fair, honestly, but I can probably end up hardcasting an Overlord. Duress takes my Erode. Duress is scary. That means we're somewhere on like that Storm, Doomsday, Reanimator, I don't want you to interact with me, and like now we have 4 lands and 2 very, very, very fair cards. I'm the greatest of all time. I was never worried. Grab a Bayou here. Thoughtseize our opponent from the top rope. Oh, it is a Daze. Alright, you got it. The Underground Sea comes back down. Opponent Thoughtseizes us. I think the Overlord is better than the Veteran Explorer. Opponent agrees. Overwhelming Splendor is perhaps not the card that I was hoping to draw. I think I would rather Surveil than ramp immediately. There's a decent chance that my opponent's deck has a island and or swamp in it. I don't think I want to give them that if I'm not getting anything out of the Veteran Explorer myself. This is looking like a flow state, maybe Doomsday deck. I'm gonna go ahead and Surveil here. That I think I do. At that point, I get something meaningful out of the Witherbloom charm. Opponent to 16. Go for the drawing 2 cards here. Sack Veteran Explorer. Thoughtseize is exactly what I want to get off of that draw. That's great. Do a white, probably a green. Green. My opponent does have basics. So next we are hoping to dodge Brainstorm, hide the good stuff. And we're a little bit away from hardcasting an Overwhelming Splendor to shut off Thassa's Oracle. Ooh, those are some good cards to have. I think if my opponent has a Doomsday, right now I am dead. With my opponent having access to both of these immediately. So do I play towards the timelines where they don't currently have the Doomsday and take Force of Will? That way I can stick something. I think that sounds good. There's the pedal. Yeah. Alright. They've made their pile. They are casting Consider. Cycling the Street Wraith. And they sent a Thassa's Oracle to graveyard. And they are now going to unearth it. If I had an Erode here, that could maybe do it. But I don't. GG. I should have looked at the Doomsday pile. I'm not expecting anything too crazy. I think this becomes more of a what do I not want situation. I have a bunch of things that are kind of mediocre. My learn stuff is really not at its best here. I can probably get rid of this stuff without super missing it. Flutes are fine, deafening silences are fine, surgicals are, I guess, playable. Keep erodes for things like Tamios and Barrowglyphs and Murktides that sometimes find their way into the lists. And I might do something like that and whack the submit button. There is the no white mana Deafening Silence opener. I think it's fine. I think I'm still keeping it. It's just a little awkward. I will Cabal Therapy on 1 for the Doomsday. Negative. Opponent is settling in for a long game, which they definitely can do with Flow State. I imagine they are going to Thoughtseize over Duress immediately. Yep. I also thought that Eyetwitch was my best card there, so that's fine. Lotus Petal was their draw, so we still know their exact hand. If I play Veteran Explorer, it eats Daze and Force of Will, and then my opponent casts Flow State. I think I am okay with that. I am not in love with it. I think that's just happening. Alright, I am correct. And then we'll... Okay, so that's a different land, so we still know my opponent has Underground Sea. I'm not sure why exactly they fetched. We'll see if they want to Lotus Petal. They don't. My mana's a little awkward here. And we'll Thoughtseize my opponent. Alright, opponent can Brainstorm and hide some of their best stuff. And we'll take a Duress. Although I'm honestly just happy to see that they have 3 lands there. Another Polluted Delta. That is unfortunately a Doomsday. So, or if we make it to a game 3, my opponent is not on creature pivot plans. They've got some things like Long Goodbye in their flex slots. So I know my opponent has 2 lands. This Cabal Therapy doesn't do anything. I think I am attempting to Witherbloom Charm a Thassa's Oracle as my way to get out of this next turn cycle. The other thing I can do is float mana with Phyrexian Tower and attempt to hit a white mana for Deafening Silence. My opponent just knows that I have this. They know to play around it. I could spend 5 minutes working out what their exact pile is. I'm not going to do that. I would do that if this was like a challenge and it actually mattered. Oh, it's Jace, Wielder of Mysteries instead. Resolves. So my opponent will mill 2, and they are passing. So the way that I win is now Disruptor Fluting that Jace. I'm thinking about whether or not I am Witherbloom Charming away my Phyrexian Tower to draw 2 cards. I think I am. Witherbloom Charm, back Phyrexian Tower, Academy Rector. Okay. That's presumably a Thassa's Oracle. I'll name Thassa's Oracle anyway. Hit Thassa's Oracle. I fetch, grab untapped white mana. I don't know that that was good. My opponent can't cast more than 1 spell, right? And like they just plus this and I'm dead. Yeah. I don't think I had a reasonable out there other than the one that I played to on the previous turn. GG's. This was a decent run for this deck. This was a pretty good league. All right. Let's go ahead and wrap this one up. Overall thoughts on the deck list. Not bad. We played reasonable games of Magic today. I think one of my biggest complaints here is that our finishing speed is very, very, very poor. And I would like some way to end games more quickly. Additional copies of Overlord of the Baelmerk could do that as a just 5/5 value engine alongside maybe 1 more Barrowgoyf. But this deck is trying to be very lean on the number of tutor targets it has. And accordingly, the more things you do that self-mill, like Barrowgoyf and Overlord, the higher chance you have of just milling over your Overwhelming Splendor or Bahamut, which is a really big problem. And I'm not sure exactly how to solve that. It may be that the deck doesn't need the learn cards, or at least this many learn cards, and you can use some of those slots to try to get some additional threats in. It felt to me like we were a little light on bodies for finishing out the game with Germination Practicum, and at the same time, we also got a lot of value out of the Origin of Metal Bending today, so it's not like the learn stuff did nothing. I'm unsure how exactly to, like, thread this deck moving forward. You could just do some energy stuff, like Ocelot Pride Guide of Souls as another thing that you could be doing in the early game. But then, like, the Veteran Explorers, if you're ramping, like, using your mana on 1-drops like that doesn't feel great. And I also feel like we were a little light on bodies for Desperate Plea loops. I guess ultimately what I'm wondering is, if we are doing Academy Rector stuff, is it better to go hard on that with something like Herald of Amity, like we did on the Curses video, rather than mess around with all the learn stuff here? Because what we saw in the Curses video was discard followed by shove was just a tried and true method. And I feel like we could do the same thing here with Thoughtseize and Cabal Therapy and Herald of Amity. And maybe we keep the Veteran Explorers to hardcast these things if we draw them, and we just take some of the learn stuff out of the deck. That feels reasonable to me. You could maybe even keep some number of Barrowgoyfs, like Barrowgoyf finding Rector and Herald. Seems fine. Alright, with that, I think I'm going to go ahead and call it a day there, folks. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, consider leaving a like or comment on the way out. That sort of stuff helps out a lot. I hope you have a great day. And if you have a deck you want to see on the channel, donation deck list information is available in every single video description. Alrighty, see ya!